Hey, this is Kim here. I wanted to talk about releasing trauma from the past. Now, we all come here, we choose the things that we are going to go through. We always take full responsibility for everything that happens to us in our lives. When you do that, you make a huge shift from being a victim to being empowered. So then you take a look at, why did this happen to me? Always ask why. What is this supposed to be showing me? What do I need to learn about this? And I'm going to give you an example of something that happened to me in my life, um, that my children and I were held hostage at gunpoint, by someone that I knew that showed me that he had a gun and told me that I was going to take a ride with him. And I said no. I refused to go with him. I was already on my path, so I was a clairvoyant medium. And this happened many years ago. So I was talking to my angels. I knew we were going to be okay. I had total faith in my angels and guides, even though I still did not have that faith within myself. But I did have that faith that I was always protected and that my children were always protected. So my son came home and I ended up going into the house with him and locking the door and calling 911. And I thought he would go away, but he did not. He tried to break down a door, and then he broke through and came through a window. And then he continued to break down two more doors in the home to get to us. So we by the police showed up shortly after we were all locked in this bathroom together. And I couldn't believe that it was continuing and going on and on. And I kept going, really, angels? Really? I can't believe this is still happening. So the police were right outside the door talking to us the whole time and talking to him. And he decided to let my children go. And that's how I got out. So this was a very traumatizing event for not only me, but also my children and my neighborhood, because my block had to be evacuated and my entire subdivision was on lockdown for the entire night until they got him to come out at 4 o'clock in the morning. And this happened the evening before. So my lesson involved my entire neighborhood. And I knew right away that it was a lesson for me. And the human part of me felt bad that everyone else got involved in it, and especially my children. But, on a higher level, we all sign up for this. We all sign up for everything that happens to us. And I thankfully knew that at the time. So I actually immediately forgave him. And actually, let's take it a little further. And I knew that there was nothing to forgive. There was absolutely nothing to forgive because I had asked for that on a higher level. Now, I never called myself a victim or felt like a victim because I took that responsibility. And that does not mean, though, that we were not traumatized, and I was traumatized, even though I knew I didn't even need to forgive him because I asked for it. So it did take me quite some time, many years, to release that trauma from that incident because um, there were many things in my home that needed to be fixed. My front door was nailed shut for 2 months. My window that he came in, broke through, was not repaired for probably a month. So it was kind of like we were being re traumatized each and every day to drill home the lesson that we were meant to learn from this. And I knew for me that one of the big lessons there was I was not to date because I'd come out of a long-term marriage, which was really basically the only man that I had ever dated, and then was married to for 22 years. So even though I saw signs of this man's behavior, I chose to ignore it because I wanted to feel wanted. I wanted to feel loved. And we do the silliest things to seek as we seek outside of us what is not held within. So I would not have grown had um, I would not have continued dating him, that's for sure, but I would have continued dating. And so instead, I did not date for over 6 years. And that's what helped me to step in my power because then I was no longer looking outside of myself. I did really deep, deep inner work during that time. Um, and I had to move from my home that I had built brand new, that I was totally attached to, totally loved. Um, and my father went home, crossed over. So we moved in with my mother, whom we lived with for many, many years. And we were so grateful for that. So there was a lot of stuff that I was dealing with and going through. And had I been in a relationship as a codependent, and at the time what I considered an empath, which I didn't realize was a victim mode, which I have since released that. But releasing the trauma can take a lot of time. All those years, I'm going to be honest, I wanted to date. I wanted a relationship because I always felt like nobody was complete unless they were in a relationship. That's how codependent I was. I thought there was something wrong with single people that chose to remain single for a long time. So I would have dated had I not been traumatized, which was a gift. Because if I had dated, I would have continued on my codependency path. And codependents are like chameleons, where they make themselves or behave the way that they think others want them to behave. So I was so far gone in my codependency that I didn't even know who I was. I was already on my spiritual path. Thankfully, it was time for me to wake up in the 90s. And had that not have happened, but it doesn't matter because it was meant to happen, so it happened. But it saved my life. Saved my life. So the trauma assisted me, actually. And if you can think of it this way, sometimes the trauma assists us to not do what we are not supposed to do. Because even though I was getting stronger and stronger and stronger, I still felt like if I dated someone, I couldn't trust them, and were they going to kill me or try to kill me? So think of the trauma that way also. The trauma can be your friend to assist you in not doing what your higher self does not want you to do anymore. And if we don't listen, we get what I got, which was what I call a spiritual sledgehammer. And you really get knocked on your ass on that one. Because I had dated a guy before that, and I had to end it with him in about 6 months, and it was very painful. But I didn't listen to that, and so then I dated this other guy. And my higher self was like, bam, enough is enough. You got to stop. So we have to listen and take a look at the trauma that actually is our friend assisting us to not do what we may do otherwise. And that's because your soul, your higher self, is ready to embody you. And sometimes we need to be steered in the right direction, which is always going within. So when I started semi-dating after that, I was very much so in my power, and don't like to waste my time. So I would be honest with them if I felt there was no chemistry, or if it didn't feel aligned. So what's happened since then is really I haven't dated many guys at all because they're not in alignment. I have met many twin flames since then, and those twin flame, they burned hot and heavy and burned out very quickly because I had already stepped in my power, and I knew how to say no. I knew when to say no. So when you step in your power, you don't have a problem with speaking your truth. And it becomes very powerful. So I, have been basically single for a very, very long time. And, I will remain so unless I meet someone that is as strong as I am. And this is why it's imperative to keep continuing to work on yourself and your power. And sometimes we really need to do that alone. If you have chosen to do that with a sacred union partnership, that is a very rare and beautiful thing. But that's how your soul, your higher self, chose to experience that. That is not the norm. That is not the normal at all. So you are going to be seeing, we are going to be seeing a lot more endings of relationships as as more and more souls, their higher selves, push them into stepping into their power. And the ones that are codependent, like I was, everything is going to start screaming louder and louder in your face. All the dysfunction, the discord, all the manipulation, all the verbal and mental and emotional abuse is going to get in your face because it's time for us all to grow. We are vibrating higher. The earth plane is vibrating higher. Everything is vibrating higher and higher. And it does not support the lower vibrations anymore. So it's going to be a rare day when you see a couple that stays together for their entire life, as that used to be the norm. I thought that would be me. I had to deal with, I thought I would be with this man forever. I thought we were the perfect couple. Everyone thought we were the perfect match. But the difference was I chose to grow and he chose to not. So if you're no longer a vibrational match, you will not be together any longer. So this trauma, what do you have to do to release it? You have to feel it. You have to write it out. You have to yell it, scream it out. You can do that in your home. You can do that in your car. You can do that on a walk in nature. There's so many different ways to release this trauma. And it also assists to tell yourself it's not real. It's over. It's done. It happened. Okay, let's move on. And eventually you'll start to believe it. But something magical happens along the way with all of that releasing, which, like I told you, took me 6 years to go from almost completely powerless to full on in my power. So it doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen faster if we open our eyes and we really look at ourselves. We take full responsibility for ourselves and our life and everything that occurs in our life. There is no room to be a victim here. There never was. Full on responsibility. Nothing happens to you that you did not ask for. Nothing happens to you that you did not sign up for. Full on responsibility. If you'd like to have a session with me or work on yourself, my book is chock full of those, of how I came to be from powerless to powerful. It's called Divine Warrior Goddess, Step in Your Power. It's a journey to wholeness and ignite your self-mastery, because it is a mastery. You can find andaras and crystals and everything that is crystalline light encoded, my articles on my website, divinewarriorgoddess.com. I love you and I will see you soon. Bye for now.